Hello and welcome back to another MLB Pipeline podcast. It's Jesse and Tanner. We'll be talking about our journey through scouting, our scouting class that we're taking, as well as some upcoming draft prospects in the MLB draft coming up. Tanner, how are you today?
Good. How are you, Jesse?
Doing very well. So, I think the first topic that we'll cover together is the MLB draft. It's coming up here in a couple months. We've been kind of eyeing some different prospects. Obviously, everybody is really big on Ethan Holiday. You have a little bit on Ethan Holiday. What do you have this far?
So I did. I was checking up with Major League Baseball's ranking, and obviously he's number one. And I was like blown away by the fact that this kid is 18 years old, 6'4", 200 pounds, and they're listing him as like a shortstop, third baseman. And honestly, like I found it incredible that they have him as like an average to an above average runner.
Yeah.
I'm like, geez, if you have like a speedy guy that's that big and has like 60, 70 power playing like shortstop, third base, I'm like, he's gonna be talented.
Yeah, it almost sounds like Texas Rangers Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I hate to put that on, or Seattle Mariners to Texas.
Mm.
I hate to put that on a player, but that's kind of the way he's profiling at this point.
Yeah.
Seems that the Holiday family overall, with Jackson as well, who had a slow start last year. I haven't been up to date with him to this point this year, but I did see a highlight of him hitting a grand slam. That he's going to be a hell of a player as well. He was the first pick. I want to say it was about 2 years ago. Overall, my favorite player in this draft. We talked about it last episode about catchers, how much we have learned to really value catching. I watch my team, the Twins, and I watch the catching, and while it's below average in a lot of different categories, I can't help to really focus in on Luke Stevenson with North Carolina. 20 years old, 6'1", 200 pounds. Doesn't, the one tool that doesn't matter is run, obviously 30 run, but overall his field is 55 and his arm is a 60. He's projected right now to go mid round, so I'm hoping he kind of falls to that 15, 16. Uh, you had mentioned another catcher who was overall 41, who was Caden Bodine. What do you know about him?
Well, Caden is a honestly, so that would put him in about the second, third round, possibly. I mean,
Yeah,
as a
one
catcher,
or yeah, one of those maybe the compensation.
yeah, right. But I had him as a switch hitter. I believe he's out of Coastal Carolina, and I saw definitely one of the best hitting grades out of catchers in the top 100. Well, he
Yep.
had a 60. He had an above average arm, and I believe he's 5'10". So he's not that 5'10", 200, which honestly isn't like he's not a super like you won't have a whole ton of arm action
Sure.
for pop times. I think that kid will be good or a nice pick. One
One
that'll
other
be on radar.
one other one to watch is this Eli Willits. He's 17 years old. He's ranked, I think it's ninth overall in the top 100. Uh, for shortstop, as a 17-year-old, a 60 hit, 45 power as a 17-year-old. Run 55, arm 55, field 55. I understand, and he's a switch hitter. I understand that guys from high school sometimes they take a little bit longer through the system, and sometimes habits habits take over maybe your process of hitting, which is going to lead me into this next topic here about hitting. I through this course we're assigned to talk to some different front office executives about what are some key traits or key things that you need to learn to kind of get into the game or to work with a team. And I had come across a guy by the name of Ken Cherryholmes, who has been a hitting coach for 30 years, was a scout with the Tampa Bay Rays. He actually knows Hank pretty well, our Monday night teacher, but um, he was saying a lot of habits that get picked up through the minors or even the major leagues are leg kicks, different little hitches in before the swing begins. And his philosophy isn't anything about launch angle. which is so important in today's game. It seems it's measured. It's what we look at whenever we look at um, Aaron Judge or any of those guys that have actually perfected it. But his philosophy is more on timing. It's a split second decision to decipher whether you have a fastball, curveball, changeup, whatever the pitcher is throwing at you. If you his philosophy is if you're incorporating that leg kick or if you're incorporating that some sort of twitch before you swing, you're losing those split seconds to decipher what's coming at you at the plate. From things that you've viewed and with different scouting you've done, what's your input on that?
I think timing has a lot to do with it really boils down to, and I know for certain that Hank preached about this. And honestly, I saw a video earlier about Tony Gwynn talking about this balance. Like it's the most important part of hitting. And I really was fascinated by this video. It was Tony Gwynn who was like coaching these like high school kids. And he talked about how like a lot of times people will bring focus on the barrel of the bat and bring it to the ball. But oftentimes you shouldn't do that. You should focus on actually the knob. And then once you think the knob, bring the knob to the ball, the barrel will follow.
Click the wrists, right?
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, I mean, it's hard because you see, like you said about we talked about earlier about Mike Trout's leg kick compared to Albert Pujols when he was with St. Louis had none, but then goes to L.A. and he develops a leg kick and I don't want to say declines because but you know what I mean.
Yes,
But it's timing is definitely a very important aspect, and it also has a lot to do with pitch recognition as well, I think.
certainly, certainly. And this is me um, trying to relate to a major leaguer, and
Mm,
it's going to be a pathetic attempt. But when I play MLB show, my timing is everything when I line up my swing,
yeah,
right?
right.
So it's maybe something to kind of monitor as we continue to evaluate talent at high schools in our local areas, or future jobs that we may end up obtaining, is kind of looking at those mechanics. And obviously, mechanics can always be changed, but then it's also going to depend on what your team's philosophy is as well. I mean, if you're told to go look for something and you come back with something else, well, a front office may appreciate the additional legwork. It may not be it may be unsolicited advice overall. And again, I guess it depends on your reputation as you continue on in your career. So yeah. Um, Going on to another part of our class, which is interviewing those front office executives. Uh, to this point, I've ran through roughly about 10, and one of the big things that have been communicated 3 or 4 times if you want to set yourself apart from the the rest of the applications that are submitted, because obviously there's a ton, is being able to speak Spanish. Have you heard that at all?
Not as of yet, no.
Okay. And myself, I've since I was told that last week, I've been wanting to sign up for a Spanish speaking class. I had once you know, in high school on to college, I had done a little bit, so I have a little bit of a baseline. But the reason for that, they say, is the whole part of scouting maybe isn't what you see on the field; it's what you see off the field. And if you're in another country, it really helps to when you're having those conversation with parents, coaches, other people at the ballpark, to really getting to know that player's makeup off the field. A guy can have all the tools in the world, like we're kind of going over with these MLB draft prospects. But to be completely honest, we only see the tools numbers. We have no idea what the conversations are like in the dugout. We don't know if for sure that this player in the dugout is engaged in the game, or if he's thinking about what he's going to do later that night.
Exactly.
I know that our teachers talk an awful lot about
Makeup.
makeup, and it's a pivotal part of scouting is makeup. Have you from anything that you've watched, have you seen um have have you paid extra attention to off the field stuff? Not necessarily when the game is off, but looking into the bullpens. I often wonder to myself when I'm scouting if I'm supposed to be walking around the park looking at both bullpens or if I'm just supposed to stay in my seat. These are some things that I've been asking myself, like the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, I definitely agree because I wouldn't say it's like a requirement, like if you're a scout, but say like you're going to the bullpen, you're in a close game and you're just watching the guys in the bullpen and they're just goofing around, not paying attention. Like you almost can determine from that, like how much are they really in the game? Like, and then there's guys there that are like dialed in, sitting watching every pitch. Those
Hmm.
are the guys that you want.
Right, right. What are some other things that you've picked up thus far that maybe you didn't know in the class?
Based off like what we've learned from the class.
Yeah, what we've learned from the class.
One thing, it was last week's class we had with Dan. He talked about how someone asked a question about when did you realize that like you were in charge, and he
Mhm.
shared this incredible story of how like his experience as a GM, like the things that he had to go through that he didn't expect,
Sure.
and it was really cool to hear him share those stories.
Yeah.
And honestly, it also he talked about the importance of developing relationships and how far that can go and how far it can take you and take others in the industry. It's incredible.
It seems like almost everybody I talk to in the game, they're like, "Oh, Danny."
Yeah,
Like
everybody knows that guy.
they know him with a nickname, no less. It's not Dan
Yeah.
Evans. It's oh, you know Danny or Danny's teaching your class.
Yeah.
I think that's a super important call out is the relationship building part of it. It's clear as day that his career wasn't only based on making personnel moves, but it was also
Right.
bonding and forming those relationships. When he talks about going to Pittsburgh and seeing everybody that he knows at PNC Park, down to the what was it, the usher, the 100-year-old usher.
Yeah, he raves about him.
That's a really big part of this, and it just really goes into networking. And I had mentioned it to you and anyone else that catches this is when you have those conversations, ask for references and or referrals. No, more so is there anybody else that I can talk to get to know better? It seems to me more than ever that this is. I don't want to use the word popularity contest because I feel like that really degrades what networking in baseball really is. But
Yeah,
overall, it's just so important to build those different relationships.
exactly.
So
Be amazed at how where it can get you.
100%, 100%. So it's kind of an update from the last week of where we're at with the scouting. We have 2 weeks left in our class. I'm looking forward to hearing you kind of share some of your experiences with some of the people you speak with. I know you have a couple lined up here for the next week. Have you gotten any to this point, or are you still are
I
yours lined up right
actually,
now?
I've basically been ghosted. I
Okay.
don't want to say
Yeah.
ghosted. Maybe my emails went to spam, but I had my first one today, and then
Okay.
I just heard back about another one. But
Wonderful.
I'm going to
Wonderful.
start reaching out to people on LinkedIn, maybe get some more because
I
I
had a
feel like
lot of success personally when I posted asking for help.
okay,
That
really,
yeah, if you just you make a post and say I'm part of this class, sports management worldwide, and um I'm just, I have this final paper coming up. I have to write on it. And one of the guys that I had spoken to that I had actually taken the class, he had said to me that he tried to reach out to as many people as possible, and I think it ended up being like 17 people total. And he's the one that gave me the tip. Ask the next person. Ask the next person if there's anyone that they can talk to. And I
yeah,
if you do post on LinkedIn, I'll repost it for you as well. So then, we can get the word out and continue this line of networking. It's so important. So
it is. Dan also talked about the importance of being in the baseball industry network on LinkedIn,
yes,
and there's like I think like 47,000, over 40,000 people that are
post it
just
in there
all
too.
throughout the game
Yeah.
that see it and maybe share it. and we'll
Yeah.
be there to help you out.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Mhm.
That's all I have on the scouting end of it. Let's talk a little bit about baseball in general. How are your Pirates thus far? I haven't looked.
Well, we this weekend we got swept by Cleveland, unfortunately.
Okay.
Um, but the last two games we took two from the Angels, hoping for a sweep tonight. Um, I don't know what it is with. I might have to talk to Trey when I talk to him or later about Andrew Heaney. He's been incredible to start the season.
Has he?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Hmm.
that's a sneaky acquisition.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really think anything of it. I'm like, oh, it's a serviceable left-hander. It'll help our rotation.
The
But
the
he was
Twins have been
stellar.
looking for a lefty since Johan Santana, I want to say. The last left-handed pitcher that was in the Twins rotation was Dallas Keuchel, which was like 2 years ago for
Really?
for about 5 starts. And then before that, I want to say Rich Hill in 2020. Or J Happ. J Happ was 2021. You can't forget J Happ. I
Yeah,
think his
of
ERA that
course.
season was 8, so it was pretty forgettable.
I remember you guys had when was
Well,
Liriano there?
Liriano was 2007 through 2011, I want to say. When Liriano came into the league, I don't know if you recall this or not. This was the trade for AJ Pierzynski. It was AJ Pierzynski to the Giants for Liriano, Joe Nathan, and Booth Bonser. It was kind of maybe one of the best trades the Twins have ever
Yeah.
executed because and the unfortunate part was Liriano his first season, he was unhittable. I remember he was on this run, and then it was Johan, you had Liriano, and then Brad Radke all in a row at this time. I think it was actually 2006 because then Mauer was the hitting champ and Morneau was the MVP, and they still didn't win a playoff game that season. I won't go too deep into that, but Liriano, I think at this point was like 12-3 in the season. He had an ERA under 2. He had just come off this start against the Astros when Clemens was pitching with the Astros, and he outdueled Clemens with the Astros. And the next start, I think it was against, I want to say it was Oakland, and then his elbow because he was throwing the slider at like 92 miles an hour. It was so unhittable. And I remember the following or maybe it was 2 years he came back and he just wasn't. He still was a very effective pitcher.
Yeah.
He even threw a no hitter with like 7 walks against the White Sox, but uh, he he wasn't what he was when he first got to Minnesota. That first season, it was just. And back then, 95 in the mid 2000s, was like, whoa, this guy throws heat.
Yeah.
Now 95 is like the average that you see. You have to wonder with the direction that baseball is going in is it was so home run centered in the 2019 2020 time, and now it's going back to contact. But with the pitching side of it, in the mid 2000s it was 90 95, all about command. And then I think it was the 2015 Royals had like 4 or 5 guys when they won the World Series that all threw over 100, and all of a sudden now it's all about guys that can throw heat. Does does Driveline get these guys coming up to start throwing 97, 98 on average, and then all of a sudden the top speeds are now 104, 105 on more commonly, or does the game go back to more of a command side of baseball?
I think there should be like a nice blend of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like you look at a guy like Ben Joyce.
Yes.
Is he still in the majors? I think he is.
I think he's with the Angels, right?
Yeah, he is. I haven't no know if I've seen him in the series, but he like topped out at what, like 105, 106. Like,
Yeah. And the wild part is he's not the best reliever in the game.
no.
No. Highly touted because you can throw that heat, but it comes and we talk about this in our scouting class. It's about command. And
Mm,
command and control are two different things. Where the where the catcher sets his glove is that where the ball is thrown. Now I
exactly.
will argue that it seems like a lot of the new era catchers, they have their glove down before the pitch and then they raise it up for framing. I've
Mm,
noticed that a lot especially ever since it was mentioned in our class about control. Obviously, if a catcher lines up on the left or the right side of the plate and he reaches across his body, that's a poor example of command. But it seems to me that the old school way of just like holding your hand in one spot and waiting for the ball is now non-existent.
right.
And, so many catchers are on one knee now. Also, you have to wonder if that's going to revert back also to be the squatting just because of the rules that the game has implemented with stolen bases. Pitchers, it's a lot harder for pitchers to maintain the running game. I'm kind of all over the board right now as far as where the game is going, but do you personally like the idea of catchers not holding having their glove in one spot before the pitch? And maybe in Pittsburgh it's a little bit different, but the games I've been watching here in Minnesota, it's been
And
I see it
there's
on
like
both sides.
a lot of times catchers will like put like a sep like they'll hold a glove in a different location that the pitch is not going to go, like almost to like trick. Like say there's a runner at second, like
Yeah,
oftentimes they'll do that just to trick them,
right.
just because they could relay that information to the hitter once they get back. They're like, oh, he's setting up here. Look
Yeah,
for a pitch there.
it
But
makes it a little harder to judge command.
yeah, and back to what you said about like the amount of like just straight velocity in the game over
Yeah.
command. I think you hear a lot of MLB like former MLB players such as like Barry Bonds. He's like major league hitters are going to catch up to fastball no matter how hard it is.
Hmm.
Like I think command is a lot more important.
Yeah.
Like it, but if you can command velocity, you're really good.
And I think it's a mixture of command velocity, like you say, but then also I wonder how much scouting goes into what umpire you have on what day. I
That too.
wonder I wonder if there is a preparation during the week of, okay, I'm gonna have this guy
Mm,
on the fifth day. Am I gonna pound the outside end of the strike zone because he calls strikes 45% more of the time off the edge rather than inside the edge? It's there's so many technicalities to this game that I'm really, really beginning to absorb. And
right.
this is a conversation I've had with Ken is we think we think as a hardcore fan, someone that watches baseball every single day, that we're really into next gen stats because we have like these bat speeds, launch angle, exit velocity. We have all these next gen tools, but we're not looking deeper below the surface of these of these uh, of these next gen stats. And I guess it goes back to timing. And timing is everything. If you're not barreling up the ball at the proper time, then your launch angle or your bat speed is pointless.
I'm amazed. I think baseball is like the most like complex sport out there. Like there's so many factors that you could look at in a single play.
Yes.
What pitch is a pitcher going to throw? What's the shift for the infielders, the outfielders?
Hmm.
How many runners are on base? How many outs? What does the umpire call? It's
Yeah.
incredible. That's why I love it so much.
Yeah. One another example too of fielding a huge impact play that was in a Twins game this last weekend was there was a ground ball hit up to the right side to the second baseman, and the first baseman dives in front of the second baseman, and the pitcher can't get to first in time to cover when it should have just been a routine ball to second, throw over to first. And that's that fielding awareness that I don't that you can't those are things that you can't write down or you can't measure. And
Yeah.
when we look at Gold Glove Award winners, I think that might be the next step in the game is I know there's fielding wins above replacement, but it would be nice to see tools of like playing out of position or going after balls that shouldn't have been gone after. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Especially as first baseman. They should
Yeah.
know that they have to cover a base.
Yeah. I've been on the first base train for my team for since Justin Morneau. I I think it's super underrated to have a guy that has a really solid glove over there and can stretch out on those plays. It's
Yeah.
you don't know what you have until you lose it. That's for sure. So, going back to your Pirates, so they got swept by Cleveland, and then what did Cleveland look like? The Twins are going to be seeing Cleveland for 4 games next week.
Not as overpowered as I expected them to be. So I mean, I still think Cleveland is going to be in the. You probably hate to hear this, but I think they're going to be in there for the division title.
I respect the hell out of the Guardians. They
Yeah.
compete every season with like a payroll of 50
Yeah.
million. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Stephen Kwan.
Oh yeah. Very, very effective contact leadoff guy. Perfect
That guy
leadoff
just
guy.
goes to work, man.
He does. We said it in my class. My favorite player in the league is Jose Ramirez.
Hmm.
I he's so underrated. He's 30-30 almost every season. Great glove. And by the way, he doesn't look like a guy that would steal 30 bases either. He's
No.
so quick. And he's a third baseman. To get that production out of somebody that plays third base for stolen base wise is something that you can't get around the league.
Plus, a switch hitter, above average
Switch
defense.
hitter. Yep. Yeah, that
I
too.
mean, I I don't think there's a better third baseman in the league. Can you?
No, I can't think of one.
Overall.
Definitely not. And then the Twins also have the Angels this weekend as well. So it seems
Mm.
like we're right on track. My Twins we beat the White Sox now 2 nights in a row. So that's a big accomplishment for us. Um, actually, you know what? I hate to admit this live, but I think I fell asleep before the end of the game. I don't know if they won last night or not. I haven't checked yet.
Mm.
But they
Oh,
did win on a Buxton diving play on Wednesday, and then over the weekend on my Twins podcast, I predicted they'd sweep the Braves. Well, they got swept by the Braves. I was feeling really good about it. I was feeling really good about it on Friday night when they were up by two and on Friday night, and then to mention the first baseman diving in front of the second baseman, that was the beginning of the eighth inning that ended up costing them. I think it was 4 runs in the eighth to lose, and then lose the rest of the weekend as well. The Braves, the Braves, they have gotten off to a disappointing start, but that's a team that should be competing at a high level as the season goes on. I think Ronald Acuna comes back next month, and it's a team that I've always liked a lot overall. So it'll be exciting to see who do your Pirates have coming up this weekend. Do you know off the top of your head?
Dodgers.
Okay.
Yamamoto, Sasaki, and Glasnow.
Oh my goodness. What are you predicting? Is Skeens on the mound this weekend?
Skeens is lining up to be Friday. Yeah.
Friday. Okay.
I think I think we'll take one of them.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
anything, it'll be the first game.
probably.
Is your boy Andrew Heaney on the mound that weekend too?
He pitched last night.
Okay. And Otani's back from his having the baby, his paternity leave. So
Yeah,
you know what? Maybe the baby's keeping
dad
him up at
strength
night.
now.
I
He's got
always
that dad strength now.
yeah. I bet you anything he's gonna be tired this week, and the baby kept him up all night. He'll go one
I
for
gotta,
11 this weekend for you.
I gotta change the subject. There's a guy everybody knows, Aaron Judge.
Yep.
I noticed he's hitting like what is it, 415, and we're like almost through April.
Yep.
I'm like, what?
The torpedo bat.
Is he used them?
He was the first series of the year. I don't know if he still is.
But like, I think I saw something like he hasn't hit a home run in like so many games, but he's batting like 400, which is like absurd.
When he walks up to the plate, that 6'8" stature, it looks so intimidating on TV. I can't imagine throwing to that in person. Even
You know, in person,
not, I have not seen him in person.
you should.
Yeah, did
I've
you
seen him
you
a few times.
okay. And I hear he's a super great guy. I've seen a lot of videos of him throwing balls back and forth with kids, even in opposing stadiums. I think it's a super cool thing. This is, I think, the first Yankee that I've ever liked a lot.
I'm a big fan of Judge.
I am too. I am too. There's actually a guy in the Saints on the Saints team, the Twins minor league system, named Carson McCusker. He's 26 years old. He's 6'8", 220, and he's a righty. He looks just like Judge. I think he's second in AAA right now in home runs,
Oh wow.
and he plays outfield. I've been watching more Saints baseball this last week than I have been Twins baseball with the MLB app. And just because there's a lot of guys down there in AAA right now that are supposed to be pretty good players, and I'm like screaming at the TV like, move him to first base. We need a big guy at first base. Let's just do it.
Yeah,
Let's just do it. So
I
that's
was
fun.
at I went to the Pirates Double A Altoona Curve game last week. They played, I think it was Somerset Patriots.
Okay.
Spencer Jones. I
Spencer
think
Jones. Yes.
he had two bombs in that game, and they were just crushed.
He's leading AAA in home runs, isn't he? I think I saw that.
Double A.
What is that?
Double A. He's still in Double A.
Double. It's okay. It's leading the minors in home runs then.
Yeah, he's like 6 or 7, something like that.
He's
He might
he was a
he's
high draft pick too, wasn't he?
I don't know. I think he was first round.
Okay.
I'm not certain, to be honest.
I think next episode we're gonna have to have a full breakdown to Spencer Jones for you.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah.
But
What
I
position?
mentioned outfield. He's
Outfield.
outfield.
Okay.
But I mentioned for the Pirates, I remember in our last talk about Connor Griffin,
Yes.
and he's been on a tear down in Bradenton since. You should thank me.
I he should thank you.
But I'm excited when he comes up to Double A, so I can watch him in Altoona.
He's not too far from Pittsburgh where your team's at.
Altoona, it's about 2 hours from Pittsburgh.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Does Pittsburgh do the MLB TV app for local games like you don't get blacked out? I know we talked
Not
about,
really worked out.
oh, it's blacked out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you guys are unable to watch your minor league games on TV then?
Actually, oh, I thought you were talking about the majors. No, because they have like every now and then I'll see on our Sportsnet Pittsburgh, they have the Indianapolis Indians, which is our Triple A.
Okay. Okay.
Rarely do I get the Double A though. It's almost always Triple A.
What I've noticed about MLB TV is they have AAA, AA, and single A all on MLB TV.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least for the Twins organization, I don't know for sure about the Pittsburgh organization.
I thought we could-
That's something I'm hoping baseball can figure out here over the next 5 years
Yeah.
is something a little bit more user friendly across the board as far as watching your teams play. The Twins are part of like this like 15 team issue going on right now because they were part of the whole regional sports network bankruptcy, and it really disengages fans as a whole. And we're right now in an era of short-term span and just all about highlights that it's just important to get the visibility out there as much as possible because overall I love the game and I want the game to continue.
Yeah. It's continuing to grow. I gotta say, the last few years,
Yeah.
baseball's gotten a lot more publicity.
Yeah, and it's good.
Just good to see.
It's very good, especially with the pitch clock. The pitch clock was huge.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think
I'm really
I saw a clip of I forgot who it was that was pitching, but there was a it was an example of a playoff game in between pitches without the pitch clock, pre-pitch clock, and there was like 7 pitches with the pitch clock in between the playoff game with no pitch clock. Uh,
that's insane.
Isn't how did we get to that place? Because now games are the same time as they used to be in the 70s and 80s. Over that 20-year span, every single guy has now decided to adjust their batting gloves and adjust their jock strap, take their helmet off, put their helmet back on in between every single pitch. And then also the pitcher has to walk around the mound, look out, put the
I
hat
always
back
think
on.
Nomar Garcia Parra,
Every time.
every pitch.
I know. I know. It's so baseball guys are so quirky sometimes. I love it. So,
Superstitious.
yeah. Yeah. Awesome. You have anything else to add for today?
I think I'm about all wrapped up.
Okay, good
You?
deal. We're gonna do a deep dive on Connor Griffin next week. We gotta do a
Yeah,
deep dive on Connor Griffin. Let's do it.
let's go.
You will he's in AAA, right?
Single way.
Single A? Okay, okay.
He still has a while to come up yet, but he's gonna
We'll see
start.
if we can find some tape on it. And if I find any, I'll send it to you. Vice versa, if
Yeah.
you could. We can do a deep dive on Connor Griffin. The guy that I'm gonna send you some tape on is he's a AAA pitcher with the Saints. His name's Andrew Morris. His knuckleball is 89 miles an hour.
Knuckleball.
Yeah.
Say that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, knuckleball 89.
That is insane.
I know. I know.
If it has like movement that like a Tim Wakefield knuckleball has.
It can't, right? It just
Yeah,
can't. There's
yeah.
no way.
Nobody
So,
can make a knuckleball move like Tim Wakefield.
no. No. R.A. Dickey had a decent one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah. R.A. Dickey with the Mets the year after he left the Twins. Never forget. Good deal. Well, thanks for hopping on today.
Appreciate
Anybody
it.
that listens, give a like, a subscribe. We'll be on again next week. Talk about Connor Griffin and Andrew Morris a little bit. Thank you.
Love it. See you, everyone.